chilly. Extremes. Oh. It's real slick. It doesn't look all that slick, but everything is. The rocks are, the wood is, all the roots. You have to stay focused. Ooh, look at this crazy dead tree. Okay, so this is completely dead down here, but it's still alive up on top. Sounds like there's a shelter in there. Next phase of planning is I look at what type of special gear I might need. Do I need bear spray? Do I need mosquito netting? Do I need ropes, carabiners, whatever it might be that's out of the ordinary of what I normally would pack to go out there. I look at special gear needs that we might need. If I know there's a certain obstacle, I even have a grappling hook. I've never really gotten to use it, but someday maybe I'll get to use this grappling hook. The last part of my planning phase is I put together a brief and leave it with my wife. It's going to have my route, my timeline, all my contingency plans. When we go in, when we come out, I'll also send that to my father-in-law, and at the same time I will send it to one of my outdoor friends that knows the area that I'm going to or is unable to go with us on this trip. I have plenty of them, and I'll leave a brief with them. So in case something does happen, they'll know when to call for help. So it is 3:20, and we've reached the first peak along the ridgeline on the way to Lake Stephanie. Definitely looking like this thing's going to turn into a death march by the end of it. We'll see. Keep plugging on. Join me, Phil Bo Baggins, and my merry men. Welcome to the Shire. Well, nothing out here is ever definite. You know, it's trial and error. You go one way, that might peter out. This it might even be an old trail, but it just keeps going down, and we can't go down, we have to stay up. So, back a little bit, and then back onward. Phase 4 of my bushwhacking plan is packing, and I have a very specific way I pack. It's food, clothes, water, maps and intel, but one thing that I will mention is base camp supplies, and this usually entails of a 12-pack of very cold beer when we get back, and all the implements to sit around and tell lies around the campfire. Phase 5 of my bushwhacking plan is execution. First part of execution is danger assessment. Again, putting together a whole plan and itinerary for people back in the rear to use in case something goes wrong in order to initiate a rescue. This also includes testing my emergency location beacon and making sure that it is up to date and ready to go. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check my compass, make sure it's in good working order, and I'm going to check my maps. I'm going to check how old are these maps? When were they fact-checked, if they were fact-checked? One thing I discovered in Alaska, and it wasn't until I was out there and ran into another person in the backcountry, which was very rare when I was out there, was that these maps were made in 1954, and they were never even fact-checked. So there were streams and ridgelines that were and were not there. There were just things that have completely changed since the 50s up there in the Denali. So the maps weren't as reliable as your eye. Once all my gear is put together and packed, I'm going to do a gear inspection. I'm going to check for accountability. Do I have everything? Is everything there? Is there anything that needs maintenance? Is everything up to date? Do I have backup tools for my filter or for my stove? Then there's comfort. I'm going to make sure that the equipment is comfortable and rides right on my back. So I'll put it on, I'll test it, I'll jump around. And that becomes to the last thing, noise. I'm going to make sure that everything is silent, either taped down, or when I jump up and down, I'm not making a whole bunch of noise with this equipment. And this comes in real handy if I'm trying to get to an area where I want to observe wildlife. Security. Is everything secured to the pack? Do I have lanyards to all the important things that I might drop out or fall off the pack? Is it attached to the pack? I was in class 10-86 of Reconnaissance Commando School, or Recondo School, Fort Bragg. And the commandant was Sergeant First Class Eddyburn, and he was a true badass. And after you do the whole slide for life into the water, and this is no wussy one, I mean, you're holding on to this thing and then you gotta let go about 30 feet off or 10 feet off the water going 40 miles an hour. It's halfway through the school, and it's the first time you've even thought of seeing a shower. But you have to commando crawl out to the middle, and it was higher than the punch bowl. So I'm hanging from this rope, and Sergeant First Class Eddie Burns in this tall tower sitting in a chair, and he asks you your name, asks your social security number, and then he tells you to hang. So you go from the top of the rope to hanging, and then he starts asking you all sorts of questions about home and everything else. And your arms are already completely exhausted. And he keeps asking you questions, and you keep asking, and you start asking permission to drop, and he kind of ignores you and asks another question. And then he starts telling you a story about the difference between being hard and being stupid. And so here I was trying to be all proud and just to make him tell me to drop, and then he asked me how good of a swimmer I was. I told him I wasn't the greatest swimmer. He says, you realize you have to swim once you drop off this rope. He gave me permission to drop. I dropped. When I hit that water, my arms had nothing. I almost panicked. I always look at things like this rock, and it's like, well, there's a difference between being hard and being stupid. That keeps me from making this real stupid decisions.